I'm doing good, Aiken. How are you, my friend? I'm doing good. Excuse me. Oh, let me go grab some water. Give me a sec. Ready. Okay, I'll go and switch my thing. All right. Hello. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully everybody's doing fantastic. Aiken, good to see you, my friend. Hopefully you're doing really well. Here we go. Good, my friend. Good. Excellent. Have you gotten better at F1? That's the real question, Aiken. 2 followers away from 750. Appreciate that. Oh, it's Major Mad. Major Mad is subbed again. Oh man, how you been, Major Mad? Good to see you again. I hope you got my whisper there. I know you asked me when I'm gonna be back. Yeah, I'm gonna be back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays this semester. Um, I'll be teaching 3 times a day right here. So that's what I'm doing. Dude, I wouldn't leave you in the dark. No problem. Thank you so much, Major Mad, for the sub again, man. 11 months. Holy smokes. Uh, I, your generosity is just super kind, man. Like I said, I don't know if I deserve the subs, but man, if there's anything that you are consistent. And I appreciate that very much. Goldmash, hello. I'm doing fantastic, Goldmash. How you doing? Cindy, hello. How are we doing this morning? I hope we're doing fantastic. I hey look. I don't ask for subs or donations on this channel, and I do it for the teaching. I do it for the funsies. So, you know, there you go. I'll always be a sub. Thank you, Aiken. Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you have anything on Major Mad. He's got a lot of time ahead of you, but man, he's been here pretty early too. So, do I want sub badges? Yeah, actually, that'd be pretty cool. If you want to make me some sub badges, that'd be fine. I don't have a lot of infrastructure when it comes to this channel, but I think it's only fair that like people like Major Mad should get a sub badge, and so should others if they're just as consistent. I think that'd be pretty nice to have that little bit of flair. I don't think that'd be a problem with that. If you'd like to, Major Mad can't have one. Hey now, but true, he does have the founder's badge. He does have the founder's badge. He's the OG of the OGs. It's true. Sneaky Weasel, hello. How we doing this morning? Hopefully we're doing fantastic. Okay, that's perfectly fine. That's not a problem. I mean, like I said, sub badges are good for people who, coming in. So hopefully you're doing fantastic here today. First 10 people to sub get the founders one. Yeah. I know I've had more than 10 people sub to this channel at some point or another in the past year and a half or so. I respect the OGs, though. I definitely respect the OGs. Do I have any ideas for a sub badge? Just make it math related or something like that. I mean, I don't. It doesn't have to be like super complicated. You could use your imagination, but make it like math related, and that'll work. So it doesn't have to be super crazy. Okay, trust me. I'm not asking. Trust me, I'm not gonna ask you for the moon and back since you're volunteering to do the work. So I'll leave it in your hands, Aiken, if how it should be done. I'll leave it to you. My face with bronze, silver, and gold. My face? Oh boy. My face, eh? All right. Going to get started here very shortly. Starting here in about a minute or so. And we'll get going here with some new material. 100%. My face on anything, I'm not sure that would look very cool. Let me be honest with you. Like maybe I could do like a, I do these streams, I could do a little show, but outside of that. Outside of that. All right. It is 11 o'clock. Let's get going here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get moving here, and we are going to get started here. So let's do some intros, and let's get moving here. All right. Okay, let's get started today. Welcome back to Thursday, end of the week time today. So last time, everybody, we went over the syllabus. We went over some information here. All right, in regards to the class, okay, so we just kind of went over an overview about what the expectations were for this course. Now, today, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going over the first chapter here of the textbook here. So we're going to go over chapter 1. Again, chapter 1 is pretty much all about definitions and whatnot. All right, so a lot of the things will be, of course, these definitions. You're going to see these these terms you're going to see throughout the course of the semester in various different concepts, but again, we need to be able to define those as we move along here with the material. Now, let's talk about the handout here. Actually, before we do that, let me get a. Some people are trickling in a little bit later, but that's fine. Let me go ahead and get a little poll here for you guys. I do have music running in the background. It's the non-copyrighted stuff. But I don't know if you guys, I didn't ask last time, if you prefer music or not in the background. So go ahead and ask that, and then I do have one other thing I'll need to talk about here, and we'll get going. So I'll put a short poll here, 1 minute. So would you guys like music in the background or no? Again, it's totally up to you about how you would like things. Okay, so again, like I said, I customize this class around you and what your preferences are. Okay. So I always defer to what the masses tell me. I kind of roll with it. I can turn it down if you'd like, Sarah. If it's too loud, just tell me and I can always turn it down a bit. I can turn it down a smidge so it's not like super distracting. How's that, Sarah? Is that okay? That not too much in the way? I usually speak pretty loud, so. All right, so 12 people say yes, 3 people say no, but like I said, I'm always willing to work with a compromise. All right. You can barely hear it now? Okay. Just turn it up just a smidge. Just a smidge. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Good. All right. We have a little bit, it's like this light background music. That's what it's intended to be. All right. Okay. Now, one other thing that I totally forgot to mention here last time, and I do apologize about this, was something on D2L, and so I just want to point this out here on D2L really quick. Okay. So yeah, it's music as long as it's quiet enough. I don't want to make it too loud. Yeah, mind you, DF, yeah, jazz, yeah, I agree with that. I forgot to mention that what I would like you to do. Some of you found this already, but if you look underneath the assignments, and I'll go to the big board here. Go to the big board. If you go underneath assignments on D2L, I do have a little syllabus in my math lab. So basically, I just want you to send me just a uploaded Word document saying, hey, I read the syllabus and I've signed up for my math lab. And you'll get some free points associated with that once you go ahead and send that away to me. Okay, it takes all of less than a minute or two of your time. And then once you've already done that, hopefully you've signed up for my math lab, and hopefully you've signed up for hopefully you took a look at the syllabus and acknowledge it, and then we go ahead and move forward with whatever. Okay. So I just wanted to point that out so that way it's not. I kind of forgot to mention it here last time, so I'm mentioning it here at the beginning of class today. All right, very good. And don't forget, if you're having trouble finding out where I'm getting this handout from that I'm going to be showing up on screen here in just a second, again, that's listed underneath handouts, and that is this first handout here, 1.126. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so let's talk about chapter 1 here. We're going to talk about, again, all about these definitions. That's what the goal is here. That's what the goal is here today. We're not going, again, there's not going to be any, super numerical things we're going to really be talking about here. That's going to be more a prize to what we're going to be starting next week with chapter 2. Okay, but today we're going to get through all these definitions. It's going to go by pretty quick, even though it looks like there's a lot of questions, but in reality, it's not as long as you may think. So let's go ahead and go to question number 1 here on the handout. So question 1 on the handout says, what are some basic terms that can be used when talking about sampling? Okay, so we're going to talk about, first of all, as you can see within the question, we can first talk about the word sample. So let me change this to 60. Not 41. Yeah, so just go ahead and Connor, just go ahead and just make up a Word document and just save it, and then just upload that Word document that says, oh, I read the syllabus and I signed up for my math lab. That's all you got to do. I'm not asking for much, I promise you, okay? All right, so let's talk about the word sample. All right. So actually, let's talk about one word before we talk about the word sample. Let's talk about the word population. All right, so population is going to be the first word we're going to talk about sampling. Now, what is a population? Anytime we do a statistical study, we have to study over 2 parts. Number 1 is the population. The population basically is going to be the entire group that will be studied. Okay, so for example here, let's say we talk about the entire population. Population exactly as it sounds. The population could be, say, all the students at ECC. Okay, so all the students at ECC would be, say, the entirety of the population, all that collective group of students, okay? All right, so that would be the population. Now, to go along with population, we have the word sample. Again, as you see there in this question, we talk about sampling. All right, so what is a sample? A sample is basically a subset of the population, i.e., again, let's talk about our class. Our class is a subset of the population. So, it's like 28 people in this class. So the 28 people in this class is going to be the sample that we would ask, say, a survey question or whatnot to get our particular results that we're after, okay, whether that be your preferences or whatnot. Okay, now what's important about statistics is that we want to be able to take our results here from a sample and we want to be able to extrapolate that to a population, because in realistic terms we can't really talk about an entirety of a population. It's like saying, well, there's 350, 400 million people in the US. Well, can I, does 28 people really reflect, what 350 million people think? Well, maybe not. So, we wanted to talk about, of course, we want a sample that's, of course, reflect that we can kind of extrapolate, and a big enough sample size, of course, to extrapolate to an entire population, and then we can make some conclusions based off of that. All right, so that's going to be one of the things that we'll talk about. Now, to go along with samples, of course, we do have individuals. Individuals are, of course, is the person or object that is being studied. Okay, within the population. So again, individual is exactly as it sounds. You are an individual. I ask you a certain survey question. Do you like brand A or do you like brand B? I say, okay, you like brand A, brand B. You answer me the question. You're an individual that is part of my study. Okay, so very straightforward, very simple. Again, pretty intuitive in terms of how the definitions will go for these first three. All right. So now comes the second question. So let's talk about the second question here, and let's actually build off of this. What is a statistic? So exactly what is a statistic at the end of the day? A statistic here is going to be sometime. Let me actually put this up to 60. Not sure why I didn't do that. So a statistic is a simple, all right? It's very simple. It's a numerical summary of a sample. Okay, that is a statistic. All right, a numerical. So if I survey people, do you like brand A or brand B? And let's say 35% of people say I like brand A, that's a statistic. Okay, so I ask the question. 35% of the people I ask as part of my sample said, hey, I really like brand A. That's what I prefer. Fine, good enough. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. All right. Next, what is a parameter? All right, a parameter is going to be a numerical summary of a population. So again, if I ask the sample 35, if I ask a population, says, hey, do you like brand A or brand B? And I can get around, let's say 63% said I like brand A for the population, then that would be reflected just as such. Okay, so there is a difference between statistic. Remember, statistic here is for the sample. Okay, so statistic here talks about the sample, whereas a parameter refers to the population. So you can see here a lot of these definitions, they go by pretty quick. All right, so really no big deal there. Okay, before we move on here, any questions so far? Any questions? If you have questions, please ask. Or again, if you don't have any questions, please type no in the chat, and I'll move forward. No. I don't collect notes. Notes are just for you. All right. Okay, so I'll go ahead and move forward here. All right, next, what are variables and data? Now, variables are certainly something we'll see a lot of here. Let's first talk about a variable or variables. All right, variables are going to be characteristics are going to be characteristics of individuals within a population. So a variable could be, for example, here we could say age. Okay, so if we talk about demographic groups, so 18 to 34, 35 to 49, all right, 50 to 67, whatever you want. Okay, so again, we talk about maybe demographics, or you talk about gender. Okay, male, female. You talk about, you talk about whatever you want. Okay, so doesn't really matter, but there's some characteristics, and those are going to be referred to as variables. Finally, we have data. Data is just basically just exactly as it sounds, just numerical values to put into variables. All right, so for example, how many males and females do we have as part of our sample? Okay, I have 50 males and 50 females, for example, or I have 73 people who are between the ages of 18 and 34, and 200 people between 35 and 49, whatever. Okay, so that's data, pretty straightforward. Now, as a part to that, of course, variables, since of course they're characteristics of individuals within populations, of course there are a lot of different type of variables that we can look at, because there's a lot of implications behind this very brief and simple definition. So we're going to look at some particular type of variables here about what's going to be helpful here within the realm of statistics. And that's what this fifth question you see on screen is all about. So the first two type of variables that we're going to look at here are going to be called qualitative and quantitative variables. All right. So let's talk about each one here and what the difference is between each unique type of a variable. All right. First of all, let's talk about a qualitative variable. This talks about this basically this allows for a classification of individuals. So this I'm just going to write the formal definition based on an attribute or a characteristic. Okay. So if I can just again, that can be based on gender, that can be based on a lot of different things. There's again, qualitative is more of describing it based on a certain attribute or a certain characteristic. All right, that would be qualitative. Quantitative, on the other hand, all right, is something slightly different. Again, the formal definition here, I'll go ahead and type this out, is going to be a numerical, again, a numerical measure of an individual. So again, the word quantitative, again, being quantitative at the E there. So the word quantitative, again, a numerical measure of an individual, so an actual number that's associated with that particular individual that you can go ahead and put together, plug and chug values together. Again, and you could get some meaningful result based off of that. Okay. Now, let's take a look at, actually, I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, let's look at some examples here about qualitative and quantitative, okay? And I want you guys to tell me if certain things, we'll do a couple of examples here. We'll see if these particular things are going to be qualitative or are they going to be quantitative. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look here. All right. So let's put in the first one here. So let's do some examples. How about nation of origin? How about nation of origin? So would you guys think that this would be qualitative or would this be quantitative? All right, Venabla says qualitative. Okay, others say qualitative. All right. You can type your answer out there in the chat. Some people already have. That's good. All right. All right. Very good. Very good. All right. Very good. So the answer definitely is qualitative. All right. So let's say where you're, your again nation of origin, again where your ancestors are from, or wherever the case may be. That is a particular attribute. So say, hey, my, for example, my family is from Pakistan. I'd be like, okay, well, that's a very particular, specific characteristic because again, that country is very um, unique. It's a unique country compared to others. Okay, so in terms of naming and region and all that shit. All right, all right. Let's go ahead and take a look at another here. How about zip code? How about zip code? Is that a qualitative or quantitative variable? About zip code. So I see a couple of quantitative, a couple qualitative. Ooh, got a healthy mix here. I think we're gonna need a poll for this one. All right, we need a poll for this one. Let's see a healthy mix for this one. Let me put a quick poll up here. See what people think. Qual for qualitative, quan for quantitative. Like people picking more. So everybody's picking qualitative here, but you never know. All right, we got about 10 seconds left, so put in your final votes there. All right. All right. So 10 people out of 12 said qualitative here. Let's go ahead and put down what this answer actually is. The answer is this is definitely qualitative. The answer is indeed qualitative. Let's describe why. So first and foremost here, I want you to kind of understand that zip code, although it is a number, okay, again, that number describes specifically the city or region of that city. If you're like in Chicago, there's many different zip codes. But it describes where you are located, okay, the city that you're located in, or the part of the city that you're located in. All right, so that's very important to know. Even though it's a number, it's a very specific attribute. In this case, it's associated with the city that it's actually located in. Okay, so don't get mixed up. Just because you see a number doesn't automatically make it quantitative. First, take a look at what that concept is, in this case being a zip code, all right? And then you can make the determination that yes, okay, that describes a city, and then that is actually qualitative as opposed to quantitative. All right, let's try another here. About hours slept in a week? How about hours slept in a week? All right. I think everybody sees that. Quantitative, absolutely 100%. That is absolutely true. All right, let's try one more. About let's go. Materials required to craft something in Final Fantasy 14. That be qualitative or quantitative? Way too much fun. Would that be qualitative or quantitative? How about the number of materials required? Let's go with the number of materials required. Let's do it that way. All right, so that's true. The answer is quantitative. Quantitative. All right. So you need to craft something in Final Fantasy 14. You need to figure out how much you need in order to get that crafted. Well, there you go. You need to figure out a numerical value in order to put that together. All right. That seems reasonable. Okay. Very good. Okay, so that is qualitative and quantitative in a nutshell. Nothing too crazy, but there you go. Okay. If it's the kind of materials you need, then it's qualitative. That's correct. Because then you're describing the materials. You're like, it's like a specific type of wood. Hey, AJ. I don't know. When do you want to come in to take your test there, AJ? How you doing, my friend? It's been a hot minute since I've seen you, buddy. Have you been well? All right. Let's talk about the next two types of variables. Let's talk about discrete and continuous. Continuous variables. Never. All right. Let's talk about discrete variables first and foremost. What is a discrete variable? Okay. So a discrete variable is a variable that can take on a finite or countable number of values. Okay. All right. So, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that you had COVID, my friend. I hope you're feeling a lot better, though. Legitimately, I don't wish that on anyone. But I'm glad. Hey, look, I know you've been busy at work, but I'm glad you're able to make it out to my stream. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Thank you so much, AJ. Super kind for coming out to this scrub stream. So a discrete variable here is a variable that can take on a finite or countable number of values. All right, so meaning to say, what do I mean by a countable number of values or a finite number of values? So it could take on, like, say, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, up to maybe a certain value, depending on whatever that variable is. Again, it's dependent on how you define that variable, and if it can take on that, again, a very limited, kind of a limited set of values is really kind of what it's saying here for discrete. Continuous, on the other hand, is basically kind of the counter to a discrete. So again, it's a variable that takes on an uncountable amount of values. Uncountable slash, I'll say, I'll actually, let me just add this, uncountable slash infinite amount of values, okay, depending on whatever that variable is described to be. So let's go ahead and talk about a couple of examples here for discrete and continuous variables. We'll take a look at some examples. So let's look at the first one here, and then you guys can tell me once again, is this discrete or is this continuous? All right. So how about this one here for our first one? Let me scroll down here. So the final score in a basketball game. Final combined score. Actually, let me put it this way. Final combined points in a basketball game. I think that would be more appropriate. Final combined points in a basketball game. Would that be discrete or would that be continuous? Okay. Yeah, that's very fair. All right. So, discrete is definitely correct, right? You only have a certain amount of time that you have in a basketball game. Okay. Again, the game eventually has to end, no matter how many overtimes that you have in the basketball game. And again, you could score a bunch of points, a ton of points, or very few points, regardless. But again, at the end of the day, it is a finite amount of points that both teams will score combined together, because the game does end. So indeed, it is a discrete variable. Okay, so again, just pointing that out there. There you go. How about, let's see here. Let's take a look at this next one here. All right, how about a high temperature on a randomly selected day in Chicago? Would that be discrete or would that be continuous? They discrete? Everybody's saying discrete here. All right, let's go over the answer for this. The answer to this, the high temperature for a randomly selected day in Chicago, is continuous. So actually, all right, Sneaky Weasel, that is correct, okay? It is randomly selected, and temperature can take on any amount that it pleases, okay? So, although it's very highly unlikely it's ever going to be like minus 370 degrees here in Chicago, but again, it can literally take on any value. Okay, so it's not a, if it was a selected day range like Sneaky Weasel said, then yes, of course it's going to be limited in its scope. But it can take on any value in between. It could be minus temperatures, it can be positive temperatures. All right, so if you think about, again, think about other planets and how they have like very, ridiculous temperature ranges. We could have like 1,000 degrees Celsius, and you could have another side of the planet be a minus 1,000 degrees Celsius, whatever the case may be. But again, those things are entirely, entirely within the scope of what those values could be. Again, extremely or non-existent here, but it's still continuous at the end of the day. So literally, you can take on any infinite amount of values. Hence why that is actually continuous. Let's try another. That one's a bit tricky, but again, I'm just trying to change your perspective on how we want to think about when we look at variables and how we describe things. All right, so how about the volume of water that leaks out of a bathroom faucet? So let's say you had a leaky faucet, and it drips out of the leaky faucet or whatever. The volume of water that leaks out of the bathroom faucet, would that be discrete or would that be continuous? Okay. Okay, so some people say, many people say, assuming it doesn't stop, continuous. Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's fair to say, Sneaky. I don't disagree with that. I didn't say that at all. You're right. All right. So the word here, the type of variable I'm going to say is it is going to be continuous. Okay. So again, it could be leaking forever. Okay. Also, consider this in mind. Even if you do stop it, all right, how do you measure how much a volume is? You can measure it down to, literally in any amount. It could literally be any amount. So, meaning to say, you could have 3.27890123456 gallons of water have leaked out of the faucet. Okay, so again, they could literally take on an infinite amount of values. All right, if at all. So again, that's something else to also keep in mind is how you would actually measure the amount of water that had leaked out of that particular faucet. All right. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about discrete and continuous variables? Any questions before I move forward with number 7? And again, if I'm going too fast at certain points, everyone, if I'm going too fast for whatever reason, if you feel like I'm going too fast, please feel free to stop me and then ask a question. I'll be more than happy to slow down, and then we can address your question and talk about the topic again. So, all right, good stuff. All right, let's go on to question number 7 then. Question number 7 says, what are ordinal and nominal variables? So what are ordinal and nominal variables? Let's discuss about these here. First, we'll talk about nominal. I'll just go in this order here. All right, so nominal variables are basically, in formal definition, are let's see here. Where did I put? Is where the variable has the possibility. Uh, actually, does not have the possibility of the values being arranged in a particular ranked or specified order. We'll look at some examples here in just a moment, but this is the formal definition I'm pointing out here. So variable I will actually, let me point that out here. Does not have the possibility. I can't spell today. Does not have the My spelling is pretty awful. That is why I stopped being in English time ago. All right. Of the values being arranged in a particular or ranked or specific order. Okay. Ordinal. Now, the easiest way to kind of see this is that ordinal stands with the word ORD, which is for order. If you want to kind of put it that way, it's probably the easiest way to kind of put there. Again, the variable does allow for the possibility of values being arranged in a particular ranked or specific order. Okay, so essentially you have kind of two different, you have kind of opposites of each other here once again. And again, it comes down to, of course, the type of variable that you're working with here at the end of the day. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, I think examples will certainly showcase and see what the difference is here in instance. All right, so remember, this is a type of measurement, all right? So let's go with this here. Go with let's go with IMDb movie ratings. Okay, is IMDb movie ratings, is that going to be ordinal or nominal? Say ordinal or nominal. Ordinal or nominal. Type it out in chat. Type it out in chat. I think it's ordinal nominal for IMDb movie. All right. So everybody's kind of saying ordinal here. All right. And the answer is definitely ordinal, right? You can put movie ratings from, say, 0 stars to 5 stars, okay, for, say, IMDb movie ratings. You say, oh, this movie was really great, or oh, this movie was really bad, okay? I know there's a lot of bad movies out there, you know, like the Fantastic Four, like anything associated with the Fantastic Four, are just terrible movies and should never be shown in cinemas or anywhere else ever again. They'll burn your retinas out. They're pretty awful. They're so awful. I mean, wow, it's just a terrible movie. Which, like, I wasted $10 going to watch this movie. This was trash. Yeah, I gotta ask everybody in the chat. I gotta ask everybody in chat. What was the worst movie you ever saw? What was the worst movie? What would you rate as a 0-star movie? Everybody's got a different opinion about this. The absolute worst movie. Kissing Booth. The Emoji Movie. Oh my god. Why? I saw a preview of that in the theater, and I was just like, this is so stupid. Kissing Booth. I gotta figure out what that is. I don't know if I've ever seen that one. Man. Oh my god, they have multiple movies? Oh, well, go figure. They have multiple. Bad movies always get multiple releases for whatever reason. Ah, it's a Netflix original. Oh, I see. Oh dear. Blue Valentine. Now, if I look at this, right? Let me put this here. Let me put this here on screen. If I look at this as a promo, as a splash screen promo, all right. Okay, let me read this here. When teenager Elle's first kiss leads to a forbidden romance with the hottest boy in high school, she risks her relationship with her best friend. Oh my goodness. That is the most that is the most vapid thing I've ever read in my life in terms of a movie description. This is an hour. That's an hour and 46 minutes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This just screams just bad. I totally understand. I'm more surprised there's a 2 and a 3 associated with it. Mercy. Sweet mercy. Cats. Ooh, yeah, cats. Oof. I heard bad things about that movie. Plot twist, the hottest boys are best friends, brother. Oh my gosh. Wow. Let me roll my eyes very large. Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai. I don't think I've heard of that before either. I like some of these. Buckaroo Banzai. Let's take a look here. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Holy smokes. When did this movie come out? 1984. Okay. I can forgive 1984. There was some pretty bad 2 hours of 2 hours of my life I'll never get back. It's true. It's true. Now, if you've ever seen the stage production of Cats, that's actually pretty decent. The stage production of Cats on Broadway, really good. Like Cats on stage is excellent. Cats the movie is sad on probably many levels. I mean, you know how it goes. Yeah, there's times where we have our the amount of hours we will never get back. We'll never get back. It's like no, I actually liked High School Musical. No, I actually liked the first High School Musical. That was pretty deep. Anything else after that was pretty bad. So, yeah. All right. Anyway, I digress. All right, let's try another one here. All right. I'm sure you guys got some favorite movies too. So, let's go ahead and do another one here. How about Nation of Origin? How about this one again? Would that be ordinal or nominal? Nation of Origin. Be ordinal or nominal? Yeah, that's correct. The answer is definitely nominal. Okay. Nominal is absolutely correct. Okay. It really won't allow you to really rank them or put it in specified order. I mean, you can make an argument that you could put it in alphabetical order, but if it's not necessary as part of, say, a giant database or whatever the case may be, then you know what? It's again one of those things that, again, probably not really going to be all that necessary. So nominal, in more cases than not, I would say maybe sans 1 will be your result for that. Okay, I'll put one more here. Put one more here. This one here is actually rather interesting. This last one here. How about eye color? How about eye color? What do you guys think? Ordinal or nominal? Ordinal or nominal for eye color? All right, you guys are on top of it. Good. Nominal is absolutely correct. All right, absolutely right. All right, so you know, eye color is just like nation of origin. Okay, where you really don't have a chance to rank eye color. Okay, or put it in a specified order. Again, alphabetically being maybe the lone exception, but again, there's a lot of different eye colors a lot of people have. So unless you make it a little more generalized, you know, most people put it in a little bit different here. Oh man, I love these people. Do I want to become famous? Do I? My dude, my awesome dude. You just became famous for getting banned. Bye. All right, so lovely. All right, so yeah, so if you have like you know, blue eyes, you could say blue eyes, but sometimes people people split that up into like say sky blue or again dark blue or whatever the case may be. You know, you could say dark brown, black eyes. I don't know. A lot of different, sometimes people will just split it up that way. Oh, you have green eyes. Yeah, it's like you have green eyes, but then people put exactly like you say, Sneaky is like, hey, you have different subsets of green. Okay, different subset, you know, different subsets of brown and different subsets of black or whatever other eye colors are out there. Okay. I don't really stare at people's eyes, so it is what it is. I look at my eyes and be like, hey. All right. Okay. Any questions about variables and the like before we move forward? Any other questions before we move forward? Yeah, I agree with that, Jasmine. I agree with that, Jasmine. That's why I would make an exception. Although, who wants to go to the DMV? Not me. The DMV's the worst, man. You have to sit there in the chair, and then you gotta wait for your number to be called, over the intercom, and it'd be like, E1793, go to window 7. E1793, go to window 7. You look at your ticket, and you're like, E10,000, and you're like, damn it. Yeah, it takes so long. Oh my gosh. I'll be honest with you, Sneaky. It's a lot better than it used to be way back when. It used to be at least 2 to 3 times worse back in the day when I first got my license. Like, it was bad. It was really bad. If you didn't arrive in the morning, like when it opened, you would have to sit there at least a good 3 to 4 hours waiting to get served. That's how bad it was back in the day before they had all that ticket system and stuff. It was brutal. All right, next. Next we have number 8. What are interval and ratio variables? All right, so this question here, bring a book. Yeah, exactly. There's barely any console gaming back then. If very pretty much that was all you had was bring a book. What are interval and ratio variables? All right, so in this case here, this is a question. There's be certain questions throughout the course of the semester that I have here. These are pre-prepared handouts that I have from way back when. So there's certain questions that we may do. There's certain questions we may not do. This is a question that we are not going to do. We're going to skip this now. Just to be perfectly clear here about this, any questions that I do skip will never be reflected on a test. They will never be tested over. They'll never be put on a homework assignment. All right, so you're not going to see questions in relation to anything that I do not cover. Anything, and if you do see questions about anything I do not cover, bring that to my attention. I'll be more than happy to strike that away if I accidentally left one in. So, but I thought I scoured stuff there, but again, if I skip it, it's not going to be covered and it won't be reflected on at any time. Okay, so that's not how I operate. The only things I ever test over, the only things I ever ask homework over, are the things that I cover in class. That's it. Okay. But starting from there, number 9, number 10, so on, those things are definitely covered. Let's talk about number 9. Is what is a randomized experiment and an observational study? All right, first let's talk about an observational study. So an observational study is exactly as it sounds. All right, basically it's a study in which the researcher, whoever's doing the particular study, that particular researcher, does not interfere with the participants. Okay, so let's say you have individuals who. So for example, here, okay, let me throw a quick example. Let's say Let's say I'm a researcher and I'm trying to find a link between, let's say, heart disease and coffee, and how many cups of coffee you drink. And I want to say, is there a link between both of those based on how much coffee you drink and heart disease? Okay, risk of heart disease. And so, of course, I ask you, hey, do you want to be part of my study? You say, okay, sure, I'll be part of your study. You come in, you maybe answer a series of questions. I say, okay, well, how many cups of coffee you drink? I drink, 2-3 cups of coffee a day. All right, whatever the case may be, you tell me all the information, height, weight, whatever, health history, and then I just send you on your way. And all I do is I just sit back and I just observe you. So maybe I come back a little bit later, maybe 6 months, a year down the line. I ask you the same series of questions. I ask you, and then maybe after, with results with many different people, of course, I'm going to ask many different people to kind of follow up with them. I'm just observing them. I'm not interfering with what they're doing. I'm not interfering with how many cups of coffee they drink, and then I can make a conclusion based on my observations after an X period of time. So that is strictly an observational study. I'm not getting in the way of anything in regards to that. A randomized experiment, on the other hand, is uh, where the researcher directly interferes with the participants. Okay, so they directly interfere with the participants, okay, or the individuals within the study, whichever way you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. All right, again, um, it is it is truly randomized. Again, where is this very helpful? Let's talk about where this is extremely helpful. Um, probably the best example of this. I think for more relevant example is going to be clinical trials. All right. So, of course, being very relevant in the COVID age, uh, clinical trials, of course, in order to make the vaccine, you can't have just observational studies. You need a randomized experiment. So, clinical trials are certainly a way in order to determine the effectiveness of the vaccine. So, you probably heard, oh, who wants to be part of the Moderna vaccine trial? Okay, and they test out. They have a control group, which is the people who don't get the drug, and they get the people who do get the vaccine in that case, and then they observe and they say, okay, let's see what the effects are. Let's see what the story is, and again, they basically see exactly what those side effects are, and of course step in when they need to, in terms of those particular experiments. Okay, so again, you're just trying to see how well that vaccine will work. All right, and of course, as you see today, get FDA approval after X period of time and all that shit. All right. Okay, so my sister actually was part of the clinical trials for the vaccine last October, so very interesting to hear what she had to say about that. It was got got my vaccine in March and April, so a while ago. I don't know if you guys have gotten your vaccine. If you have, great. If you haven't, that's fine. I know that if you do take the vaccine, that second vaccine shot, oof, that knocked me out for like a good weekend. I know for some people it's a little different, but I was so tired for that whole weekend. I was just like, I gotta sleep, and I slept for like, I don't know, like 24 hours, not straight, but I just felt so tired. I was like, not getting out of bed for a while. All right. Okay. So, with clinical trials or the like, what kind of studies can you do here with these types of experiments? Let's talk about that here. What type of studies are common? Well, certainly there are types of studies here. I'm not going to go over the definitions here too much. There's confounding studies, retrospective studies. I think most people know what that is. Again, just kind of looking back, compare and contrast to say what would happen 20 years ago to today. All right, that's more of a retrospective study. Probably more relevant to a clinical trial is a single blind study or a double blind study. Um, a single blind would be like the researchers know who got the vaccine and who didn't, whereas a double blind study would be neither the researchers nor the patients know exactly who got the vaccine and what. This is actually double blind. You probably be wondering why you would do a double blind study. Why would you have nobody know who got what? It's because then you can see things in real time and you can make better determinations, and it reduces the amount of bias in the results if you do a double blind study. So then you can see, oh, are we getting the intended effects or not? So people say, well, it doesn't seem to be a purpose about why you should know. I'm like, yes, I want to remove the bias out of the study so that way we get more accurate results from our observations after we hit them with the vaccine and stuff. So, and compare them to our control group. All right. Okay, so that is types of studies there. All well and good. Alrighty. Let's move forward here. Okay. Okay. Next, let's talk about a census, okay? So let's talk about a census here. All right, so a census is something that you probably did last year. Probably people came up to your door, they ask you for the national census. Happens every 10 years here in the United States. All right, it makes a the census here makes a very large difference in a lot of different things. So it is one of the most important things that we do here in the country. All right. Again, what is a census here? Now, a census is a list, as for terms of a formal definition, a list of all individuals. A list of all individuals in a population with certain characteristics. Um, with certain characteristics of each individual. So this is the formal definition. But I think, you know what? Although this is the formal definition here, I think it'd only be fair to show you what a census can do, at least in terms of looking at the state of a country. Okay, of course, this affects everything from politics all the way up through the economy, and looking at the state of the economy, or looking at the state of the country from a every 10-year kind of snapshot and the direction of the country. So let's take a look here at at a place where we can find some of that data. I'll bring that up here on screen. Okay, so this right here is the US USDebtClock.org. Okay, now this has a lot of different facts and figures that can certainly help you to see, hey, what's the current state in America? Approximately, ballpark figures here. Obviously, I don't have the specific numbers here of the census, but again, this gives you good ballpark figures nonetheless. All right. And you could put certain things here. For example, how many people are in government jobs or private sector jobs or the like. So as you can see here, for example, how many people are in the United States as official population would be like 333 million. How many people are taxpayers? 125 million. All right. How many people officially unemployed? 9.4 million. 16.4 are actually unemployed. All right. The median income, the national debt here. Okay, obviously nothing to do with the census, but that would be 28.6 trillion with a T. $28.6 trillion of debt is what we have here in the United States right now. All right. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of money. Be honest with you, lots and lots of money. All right. If you ever talk about how much student debt do people have, I think for most of you guys that's probably important here. Student loan debt is approximately $1.76 trillion. All right, so on average per student, that'd be $40,000 in debt per student. Now, I'm not saying you guys have $40,000 debt because it's community college, but $40,000 debt is the average per student who takes on college loans. So again, you could get a good big picture. Like I said, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it's a good big picture perspective to understand what is going on in the country right now in terms of the health of the economy compared to what you see, the health of the economy compared to maybe what you have or what's going on behind the scenes. Very, very helpful. There's a lot of interesting things on here. I ain't gonna lie. You can even break this down state by state, by the way. That's fairly interesting. So take a look at Illinois. Illinois. All right, so here's Illinois. We have 12.6 million people in this glorious state of ours. We have 2.5 million people unemployed, and we have about 1.8 million people who receive food stamps. Probably the most important part, though, is probably looking at this. That is how much money we bring in compared to how much we spend. Okay, we spend a lot of money every year, and this is our debt. Our debt is approximately $170 billion, which is yeah, it's pretty that's pretty bad. So let's not lie to ourselves. All right, so again, there's a lot of interesting things you can find out on this website here. So I like showing this website off pretty early so you can see, hey, certainly with statistics, there's certain things that you can make conclusions off of, you can glean off of, and then make your based off of that. It's fairly interesting. That's okay. I'm glad you're able to come out now. No problem. Does anybody have any questions about this? Any questions? Okay. Now you guys did ask, or you guys did ask last time to take a little bit of a break. So let's take a 5-minute break. Okay. Just get things squared away. We'll come back at 12:10. All right. We'll take a small break here. At 12:10, we're gonna come back. Okay, so just a short 5-minute break, and then we'll go ahead and continue moving forward here with the handout. Okay. And if you want to ask me questions during this time, you can if you like. So whatever you like. We'll take a short break. Let's see what California is. Wow, that GDP is crazy. Wonder why they're so expensive. Oof. That ain't too bad. Yeah, let's go to Wyoming. Yeah, Florida. Best Florida. Oh my god, it's Florida! There we go. Perfecto. All right. Good beans, good beans. So, stay at $68.93. 3 cents. Check if it's true. Guess I'll have to check. Like the price, right? You gotta check that. Oh, prices are. Alright, just got a couple minutes here. There we are. Good to go. Yes, yes, yes. Alright, got about a minute. Okay, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Alright. Took a little bit of a break there. Alright, let's make our way back here. Alright, we'll hopefully finish off most of the rest of this handout. We'll see how far we get, but we should be able to finish off this handout. But again, finishing on most of chapter 1, no big deal. Should be pretty straightforward. Okay, now I did leave this last question off here on purpose because this is going to be more relevant for what happens in section like 1.4 and whatnot. So the latter half here, and that regards this question that you see here on screen. That is number 12. It says, what is a simple random sample? Now, this is one of the things that certainly is going to come up quite often here when it comes to statistical analysis or just finding out statistics in general, is exactly this simple random sample. And so a simple random sample basically is a sample in which every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. And again, they are selected randomly. So if it's truly a simple random chance, it's exactly as it sounds. It's like, okay, I want to pick 100 people for my survey, whatever that survey is, and whatever question I'm asking. And the person over there, has an equal chance of being selected as much as the person who's in front of me. Okay, so there's no rhyme or reason why I'm picking these people to be part of my survey. All right, it's just that every single person in that population has an equal chance. So again, if you're doing like simple random samples, what's the easiest way to get a simple random sample? The easiest way to get a simple random sample would be like, say, a phone call, right? Okay, can you do this survey about whatever? Okay, so yeah, you could do something like that, and again, it's just purely random on who you call, and so can what do you think about brand A and brand B, and then you give, if you want to be participate in the survey, you participate in the survey and do whatever it is that you do. Okay, now why is this definition going to be fairly important? Is because this is like the most ideal condition that we kind of want to be in when we talk about wanting to take a sample. However, in reality, this is not always possible. Now, why is that? Well, let's put it things let's put things into perspective. Let's say I'm a guy on campus and I'm trying to give a survey here to everybody who's walking around on campus. Now, if I were to do a true simple random sample, literally I would be running all over campus to go ahead and find 100 people. The problem is that I don't want to go ahead and run around and find 100 people, okay? I'm not going to go from one end of the campus to the other end of the campus to go find one person who wants to take part in my survey. All right, that's absolutely crazy. All right, so although it would be truly random in nature, it may not be the most efficient way for me to go ahead and take that particular survey. So there are other methods of which to get a sample that we need to discuss here in this instance. So let's talk about those. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about here in this next set of questions. Make this a bit bigger. Okay, so let's go to question 1 here. Question 1 asks, okay, what is a stratified sample? This is a sample that you choose based on an attribute or characteristic. So, for example here, you could have, like, say, maybe you want to pick, as part of your survey, you want to pick 50 males and 50 females as part of your sample. All right, that's the attribute or characteristic being gender. That's the attribute or characteristic you want to choose your sample based off of. So you're just going to randomly pick, again, 50 females and 50 males, and then there you're going to answer, your particular whatever question you're going to ask them as part of your survey. Okay, so again, that's purely by stratification. All right, so pretty simple stuff, very straightforward. All right, let's talk about number 2. All right, number 2 is, what is systematic sampling? Now, systematic sampling is, again, is a random sample. They're all random samples, I guess I should. So a random sample in which you choose every kth individual starting from anywhere you want until you have your desired sample size. Okay. Now let me describe what this means, because again, in words, this can be fairly confusing. I am not going to lie. Okay. So let's describe exactly what this means. So let's say you have a line of people and you want to give a survey. Now in your mind, let's say I want to survey 100 people. Okay, that's your goal, is to survey 100 people. But you know what? You want to make it as random. You want to make it random, okay? But you want to make it as systematic. You have a little system in place. So maybe you pick every 5th person in line. All right? So maybe pick, for example here, you pick every 5th person in line. So you pick every 5th person in line, and you could start from anywhere in the line. So again, you're not limited to starting from the 1st person. You can literally start at the 10th person and then start working way up. So again, maybe starting at the, let's say 4th person, okay? It can be anybody. So you start at person number 4, and then you go to the 9th person, because that's 5 people after that, and then you go to the 14th person, and then you go to the 19th person, and so on and so forth, until you have 100 people, all right, who is going to make up your sample size for, say, your particular survey. Right? So that is essentially what a systematic sample is going to be. All right, let's move on here. Okay, next. What is cluster sampling? All right. So cluster sampling here is basically you randomly select, oops, here, I'll formally define this. You randomly select all individuals within a collection or group of individuals. So what's a good example of a cluster sample? So for example, if we were in a classroom if we were actually face to face in a classroom, and again, you could be sitting in a classroom here and there's rows of desks that you would be sitting at, or maybe columns of desks, whatever the case may be. I would say, okay, in order for me to determine my sample, I would say, let me pick the back row of desks. Let me pick the back row of desks. All right, that would be essentially part of my sample. I'm going to make the back row be part of my sample. So I'm going to, again, I pick the back row of desks be a part of my sample. I wasn't able to find the previous live stream. Yeah, I haven't uploaded it yet. I'll be uploading these live streams probably at the end of the week. So I will be uploading them, but I haven't uploaded. I didn't upload the last one just yet. But you can watch the replays here on Twitch, as they stay up here for 2 weeks. So if you click on the videos tab from, and you click on, you'll see my previous last stream here from the previous class. All right. Are there any questions about cluster sampling? Hopefully that's pretty simple. Any questions? And again, by the way, I can pick these clusters, as many clusters as I want, until I get the desired sample size. So it's not just only the back row of desks, by the way. I could just be like, I pick you, I pick you, I pick you, and then, I have a sample size, and then there you go. I'm done. Okay, next, let's talk about number 4. Number 4 is sample of convenience. What exactly is a sample of convenience? Well, sample of convenience basically is a sample acquired. It's exactly as it sounds. A sample acquired in which individuals are easily obtained and not based on randomness. So a great example of this is, let's say you're taking a grocery store survey at the front of the store. So let's say you're giving away grocery store surveys, and you're like, okay, tell me how we did at the grocery store. All right, and you say, can you rate us between 1 to 5, or you write out some comments about what you felt your experience was like at the grocery store. Now I could be sitting out in front of the grocery store, and I would need to be handing out these surveys. So what I do is like, well, you know, I don't really want to go inside the store and go like all the way back to the milk section and hand this survey off to somebody. Admittingly, that would be completely random, but again, it would just take way too much work and way too much time. So instead, what I do is, of course, I wait for somebody to walk by me, maybe at the front of the store, and I hand them a survey that says, hey, can you tell me how we did here? And you can write out your comments or do whatever. All right, that is a sample of convenience. Right. So again, it's not based on randomness. It's more based on laziness, right? In terms of convenience, it's more convenient here to be like, hey, oh, you're there. Bam, here you go. Congratulations. All right, you're there. Here's a survey. Take it for me. Tell me what you think. Great job. All right, clap, clap, clap. It's all great. All right, so that is a sample of convenience. It's not really based on a actual randomness. Again, it's exactly as it sounds. It's based on pure convenience. All right. So that's all well and good. Let's talk about next, number 5. Number 5 is, what is a voluntary response sampling? So basically, this is samples. This is a sample that is acquired via asking a question, such as email or phone calls. Okay, so for example, here, what would be a great example of a voluntary response type of sampling here? A good example here would be like uh, a talk show question. So it's like, okay, maybe you watch Maury, okay, maybe you watch Steve, all right, and then, yeah, what's your favorite food? Oh yeah, exactly. So yeah, maybe watch Maury, maybe watch Steve. He's like, oh yeah, what'd you think of her story? Okay, did you do you believe her or not? Or again, what do you think of his story? Do you believe him or not? And then of course, people ask, people will call in, they'll email, and they'll give you a response about how they feel about that show, or again how they feel about that guest, whatever the case may be. This can be okay. This type of sampling is okay. It's not the greatest. The reason is because probably when you're watching a talk show, um, you tend to be a little bit more, I guess, more heated or invested, maybe emotionally invested in that show. So you're like, it's just, oh my god, I can't believe it, and then whatever the results are gonna be. If you're watching like Steve Wilkos, you're like, oh, you told the truth, you didn't tell the truth, and of course, yeah, get a little heated or again a little emotional. That's how it is for some of those. So okay, that's all well and good. Alrighty, good beans. All right, next, let's talk about certain things in let's talk about certain things that are very important here in statistics that we try to avoid or try to acquire. Okay, so the first thing that we want to talk about here is talk about here number 6. So we talked about types of sampling. So we also have to lead credence to, of course, the the validity of our statistical study. That's very important. So of course, in order for us to have validity in our statistical study, we try and remain as unbiased as possible. So in statistics, what does biased and unbiased mean? Okay, all right, let's talk about biased here first of all. All right, so a bias here, again, is if the results do not reflect or represent the population, then there is a clear bias in your results. Okay, and so you want to, if you have a real statistics, if you have something that you want to absolutely avoid in statistical studies, is to avoid bias. You want to be as straight down the middle as you possibly can in order to in order to have credibility toward your results. That's very important. Unbiased, of course, is just the opposite, where the results um, do reflect the population. Okay, so this case here, let's put the, all right. All right. Now, biases are biases are a thing. I think it kind of goes without saying. Everybody and everyone is biased in some sort of way. I don't think there's a way you can really get around it. I think that, of course, it's like saying, people have preferences. And, of course, if I ask you, hey, let's go with Sneaky's question, what's your favorite food? You know, there's going to be a bias toward a particular food that you like. Some people will not like that food. That's just natural. Okay. Maybe some people won't like that food, but you know what? That's your bias toward that particular food and you think it's delicious. Okay, so there's always biases, there's always preferences. But since we're trying to keep it as straight down the middle, we're trying to keep the numbers as actually credible, in a real life setting. So when you're doing a statistical study, this is what you try and achieve, as opposed to trying to push forward, essentially push forward something else, that basically will remove your credibility from any statistical study you'll do in the future. Um, all right. However, regardless of that fact, since bias is kind of a little bit inherent, there are sources of bias that can happen. All right. So let's talk about that. What are sources of bias, and what can be reflected here? All right. Let's talk about the first one here. Let's talk about non-response bias. Okay. So non-response bias happens when not enough people um, participate in the study. Why do I say that? Well, let's let me ask you this question, everybody. If I were to ask 10 people what they thought of, let's say, two brands of cookies, let's say, Oreos or Chips Ahoy. Okay, if I ask 10 people their opinions about, do you prefer Oreos or Chips Ahoy? Do you believe that 10 people answering that question will reflect the entirety of the population? Do you believe that to be true? Can 10 people tell me? Can 10 people tell me what 300 plus million people can? You know, no, right? It's definitely not, right? There's no way I can ask 10 people, says, do you like Chips Ahoy or do you like Oreos? Maybe they don't like either. I don't know. Okay, but there's no way 10 people can tell me what 300 million plus million people are going to think about both of those brands and what their preference would be between those two. It's just not possible. All right. So if not enough people respond, you're not going to actually get any tangible results that are worth looking at. All right. That just makes absolutely no sense. All right. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. All right. Now, the next one here is actually fairly interesting. There's two words for this one here. There is a response, or it's also called the social acceptability bias. All right. This is when the responses to the question do not reflect the true feelings of the individual. Okay, so why is this important? Well, you want to avoid this as much as possible. Let me throw a scenario to you. Let me throw a scenario in your general direction. All right. Let's say I asked you a simple question. I'm going to ask you. I'll put up a poll here. Okay. And this is just me asking this question. Okay. I'll put this up for 2 minutes. All right. All right. Now, I put up this question here. It says, do you or have you ever smoked weed? Right? Have you ever have you have you ever smoked weed? Okay? Have you ever done marijuana? All right. Now you can answer this however you like. Again, be truthful if you want to, be whatever you want, okay? All right. Believe me when I say this, I don't care if you've smoked weed or not. I respect the choice. I have friends who smoke weed, so it's not like it's a big deal to me. Um, I've had friends who smoked weed around me. It's like, all right, you do you, man. So trust me, I don't smoke weed, but um, But it's like, okay, if you smoke weed, you smoke weed. It is what it is. Okay, there's no judgment here whatsoever. I'm gonna see uh what the split is here. It's a fairly interesting question. All right, we got about how much we got here? Okay, we got like 30 seconds. So you can go ahead and hit one of those radio buttons, whatever you like. And like I said, I'm not here to promote any kind of usage of drugs, but again, it's just a simple question. Now, all right, so final seconds here, and okay. So, all right, so 13 people said no, 6 people said yes. Now, let's talk about this question here for just a moment, okay? And I'll show you why this kind of bias can happen. All right. So think about who asked this question. I asked this question. Okay. Now I don't have any stake in the game. Okay, in terms of if you do or if you don't. Okay, that again to me that's your own business if you do. So if you said no but you actually do that, that's fine. I'm not going to judge you either way. All right. I'm going to be like, okay, fine, you smoke weed, great. All right, that's a personal choice, and I respect that personal choice. Okay, you're responsible for yourself. As I said, you're adults, so I respect that choice. 6 of you said yes. Okay, because again, you're just asking the question. It's maybe innocuous to you. It's not. It's not affecting you in any way. That's just fine. Now, let's let's at least answer this here. Let's change the scenario for just a second. Okay, let's change the scenario for just a second. Let's say instead, of me being just a regular dude, let's say I was a police officer and I came up to you and I asked you this same question. I said, "You smoke weed." What are you going to tell me? Are you going to tell me that you smoke weed? Let's be honest here. Are you actually going to sit there and tell me that you smoke weed to a police officer? If I was a police officer asking this question on Twitch, that'd be a little strange, mind you. That'd be really weird. But if I'm a police officer and I'm asking you this question, would you tell me if you did it or not? Yes or no? Type it out in chat. Would you tell me yes or no if I was a police officer? Nope, right? Probably not. It's legal, but there's a specter there, isn't there, Sarah? I agree it could be illegal recreationally, sure. Okay, there's certainly laws you could go buy weed and would do, dispensary and all that other jazz. It can be used against you though, that's right. So there's a stake in the game, right? Once you change the context of the person who's asking you. See, I have no stake in the game whether you smoke or not. I don't care, right? Because there's no consequences. There's coming from me be like, "Oh yeah, you good. You smoke weed. Okay, who cares?" Okay, I don't. Yeah, I support legalization of marijuana. So I'm fine with that. Okay, because you know what? It's silly to put people in jail for something that you can use at home, and that's fine. So, but if I'm an officer and I can use that against you, and there's a particular legal stake in the game, you're not going to say, "Yeah, totally, officer. I'm totally behind. I'm totally going to. Yeah, yeah." You're probably not because you're afraid of the consequences that could come as a result of you saying yes. So there's going to be a bias in those responses. If I ask this as a whole, to the population or a sample, yeah, they're not going to respond very well to me if I'm an officer, if I'm or an authority in which there are stakes in the game. So you want to remove that kind of bias. You don't want that kind of bias. So then that's a good example of again, response slash social acceptability bias. It's that stigma that's still attached to it. Even though I want to say this, we don't like that type of stigma, but it's still there. Let's be honest with ourselves. It's still there, even if it is even if it's weed. It's still there. That stigma is still there until slowly but surely that stigma is slowly going away. But again, it's still there, and of course, you'd be afraid to answer truthfully in certain circumstances. So um, that's something to keep in mind when it comes to that type of bias. We're not going to get through this whole thing here because I got just a couple of minutes. So I'll probably finish up the rest of these questions. A couple of these questions we already have touched on, but I want to talk about one more type of bias. Probably the most important type of bias here, and we'll end off here for today. The other type of bias, this is not listed in the textbook, but this is the type of bias that affects you on a daily basis. No matter what, this affects you on a daily basis. What exactly is that type of bias? That type of bias here. Has anybody heard of confirmation bias? Have you guys heard of confirmation bias before? Type yes or no in the chat. If you've heard of confirmation bias before. Okay, that's fair, Sneaky. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, let me put it in. Some of you have heard of confirmation bias, so probably what I'm going to say is going to be nothing new. Some of you have not. Okay, now what is confirmation bias in general? Well, let's think about it this way. You go on social media, okay? Whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be, watching TikTok vids, YouTube, whatever you want, okay? Confirmation bias is one of those things that can be very dangerous because of the fact that you can basically execute a lot of social engineering using confirmation bias. Essentially, you surround yourself with something that confirms your beliefs, okay? Bias essentially, basically, i.e., kind of surrounding yourself um, with like-minded, I guess the best way is to say like-minded individuals, like-minded individuals or content that promotes that promotes your point of view. So whether this be political, whether this be something innocuous like, hey, I like squid, okay, whatever. Like, think of it this way: probably one of the best things is probably Facebook. So, and a good example is like a Facebook feed. All right. Have you ever looked at, if you've ever, I know some people use Facebook here. If you look at a Facebook feed, Facebook feeds will essentially show you what you like. Okay, not just your friends, but the other type of content, the advertising, the other things. They'll show you things of what you like. And essentially, they're going to gear those advertisements toward you, and you're going to continue to like those things, maybe because you just like those things. That's perfectly great. All right. But also it'll show you videos. I've seen this before in my own Facebook feed where it shows you videos about things that you may agree with, and that will strengthen your belief in that particular point of view. This is actually fairly dangerous, all right, in terms of a confirmation bias. This basically says, it's basically putting yourself in an echo chamber where you're like in a message board and you're like saying, "Oh, I think this and this is correct." And then there you have like a lot of people tell you, whether, regardless of whether it's social media platform, Twitter, whatever, "Oh, you're so right, you're so this and that." The problem with confirmation bias in this and is basically it gets so far to the point where people are telling you are right all the time, where it cuts to the point of where you're unwilling or unable to listen to any opposing points of view, whether it be a completely opposite point of view or whether it be a small point of view, maybe a small little contradiction in your point of view. It could be something really tiny, it could be something major. you get more and more extreme in your values the more you are affected by this confirmation bias. And it's one of the things that affects people on an everyday basis. All that content that you absorb every single day, whether that be from a Facebook feed, whether it be from watching particular videos, all that stuff can easily shape what kind of opinions that you may have, and it could lead to more and more extreme opinions later on down the line. And that's something that is actually, again, something that affects people on a daily basis. This is one of the types of biases that I look out for. So I try and be as neutral as possible. So, for example, here, if I go to my, if I were to go to, say, for example, here, if you were to do, like, I'm going to lightly touch on politics here, really quick, but not actually discuss politics. So I could go to CNN and I could read articles about CNN. Now, CNN is mostly a kind of a left-leaning website in terms of their articles, more democratic-leaning. But I also like to read things from the other side of the aisle, from right-leaning websites like the Drudge Report. Okay, so I go to the Drudge Report, which is more of a right-leaning website, and they have articles that are more Republican-leaning, and usually the actual things are usually read between the lines here between both articles, okay, but between both articles or both points of view. Whereas most people today are going to read one point of view, meaning to say maybe they're going to read CNN all the time and then they don't read the other side of things. And that gets to be a bit of a problem of what you see today in terms of people having more extreme opinions on one spectrum or the other. I'm hoping that you guys at least understand that bias here, that at least statistics can actually enforce that kind of confirmation bias, and so we got to be careful about that. That's why we want to be more down the middle and want to kind of eliminate that types of bias, so that way we get a clear result here without any complete outside influence that will shape our narrative one way or another. Okay, so we should see things for what they are as opposed to trying to see things through, say, rose-colored glasses necessarily all the time. Okay, so that's something I just want you to keep in mind, and something that I want you to be aware of. Take a step back and think about the things that you view on a daily basis. The websites you visit on a daily basis. You know, um, do they reflect exactly what I've been saying? If that happens to be the case, maybe it's time to take. You need to take it. It's tough to get out of that cycle, but take a step back and be like, okay, let's try and look at things from both points of view. Both points of view have equally viable points that kind of go along with it. In my opinion, both sides have equally viable points that you can certainly fashion, and you could say, yeah, you're right about this, and no, you're wrong about this, and no, but he's right about this. I think it's always it's only more down the middle more than it is like extremely one way or extremely another way, in my opinion. So I try and look at both sides and be able to understand the perspective from both sides. That way I can make a more informed and educated decision at the end of the day. So I'm not going to tell you what to think in this class, mind you. That is not the point. The point is, I'm not going to tell you what to think. You should decide that for yourself at the end of the day. I just want you to be more aware about what goes on around you and the things that you do on a daily basis, especially consuming content. That's actually fairly important. And statistics is one of those things that certainly affects that. Um, all right. So, okay. Oh, sorry, I went a little over time here. We're going to finish off this handout here. We're going to finish off this last bit of questions here. These last three questions, we'll get into chapter 2. This will take us like all of 2-3 minutes. This is not going to take us too much time here to finish off the rest of chapter 1. We're going to be working ahead here so a little bit. So we're in good shape nonetheless. Are there any questions that anybody has? Any questions? Any questions at all? Any questions that anyone has here? No, it says planet. Very good. No, no. Just get the chapter 1 homework there done, Isabella. So if you want to keep pace, just keep. If you want to keep pace there, Isabella, do the chapter 1 homework just like we covered up chapter 1 here today for today's class. So the easiest way to keep pace for the course is just to do the homework related to the sections that we covered for the class. So all the all the homework is on my math lab, Isabella, just like we talked about here last time. So all homework is located on MyMathLab. So again, if you're not sure, go back and watch the video from last time from Tuesday. Or again, I put all the information on D2L. That should be all ready to go. If I can find it. There it is. Oops, I gotta re-sign in. A second. So here's the here are the handouts here. Again, if you need to find the MyMathLab information, it's located right here. This is the course ID. These are the instructions about how to register for MyMathLab. All right, and again, to find all the homework here for MyMathLab, like you guys need to be on top of this. You guys should be registered by MyMathLab here by the end of the week for sure. All right, so if you want to start staying on top of this homework, be sure to get this done right away. Okay. Let me bring up MyMathLab here really quick though, guys. All right. And again, here it's underneath Math 120, and it will be located located here under homework. Okay. Do I save the notes? I don't. I save the notes to my local computer, of course, Cindy, but I just have you guys kind of fill it out along with me during the class. So yeah, this should so everybody can participate. We can go through each question together. So that's why I don't have like the completed notes put online. So that way you can go with me. We could go through it together. You'll have it written out. The other thing I guess is the other thing I guess I could say is that I don't have a lot of space between each question, you know. So yes, that is correct, Isabella. Sections 1 to 16, and then you'll see these sections here. You click on it, and you can start the section. All right, no problem. I'm here to help. All right, any other questions before we head out here for today? Oops, I forgot to reload them. Habits. All right. No questions? Just making sure. All right. Well, if there are no questions, let me go to this page here. There we go. Let's go here. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming out to the stream here. Once again, thank you so very much. Thank you for sticking with me for an extra 10 minutes. I'm going to be here for office hours. Don't forget office hours from 1 to 4. If you want to see me on Discord, please feel free. I'll put the Discord link in there. Otherwise, I wish everybody a absolutely wonderful weekend. All right. I hope to see you all here on Tuesday, right back at the same time here at 11 o'clock. Thank you so very much. You all are absolutely wonderful people. Love you all. All right. And as always, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, but most importantly, stay sane. All right. Have a great one, everyone, and we'll see you all next week. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later. All right. Bye. Bye, everybody.